Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Whatever. So basically, the favorites, like we all talked about it before, with the Trojans. And then for you guys who are joining us, welcome to the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Evan Desai. The thing that I didn't like about this whole season was, obviously not making the move earlier to get rid of Alex Grinch. We know about that. That was something that we chronicled. Everybody said, get rid of him. He showed faith. I think the one thing I do like about the Oregon program, and I'm not sure how long Dan Lanning is going to stay there, but he is cutthroat. Like he is ready to just cut your throat out the whole game. I think you kind of need that. They need that edge. I think Lincoln Riley is really smart. I think there's some issues there. We know defensively, but it wasn't all on defense. I think they just did never. I think we can sit there and talk about some of the biggest disappointments of the year. I think offensively was the offensive line. I thought the offensive line was going to be played much better than it did. I think it could have played a little bit better. It could have played better if we stuck to the run more, which we kind of got away from the run all the time. And I guess he was reported that that this player was sulking and very upset on the sidelines this last game, but I don't know what it was. I know Dorian Singer is a good receiver. I know Caleb Williams is a great quarterback, but for some reason, those two guys just never connected all year.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the deal was there. I was happy to see them connect early in the game on Saturday. Of course, the optimist in me was hoping that this would be the Dorian Singer game. There have been some guys that have had their games. During the Lincoln Riley era. Obviously, that's kind of how Brendan Rice really started to just really progress a lot in this offense. Him having his signature games last year at the end of the season. Like I know, us two always liked him, but if you remember, there were a lot of fans that had a lot to say about Brendan Rice, and obviously that was all ridiculous. But there was there was a lot of pressure on him because people were putting that kind of pressure on him. He responded. I was just kind of hoping that would be the Dorian Singer game that would happen. It didn't happen. With that one, I just don't know how to explain it. Didn't he lead the Pac-12 in receiving yards last year?
He was outstanding last year. He was great last year. So it was weird. It was weird.
So it's got to be a chemistry thing. And I think the reason we don't know about it is because it's not really talked about as much, because this offense is still putting up the third most points per game in the entire country. The offense is actually putting up more points per game this year than last year. So they're still finding a way to get it done. But, when you just think about, what could have been, I understand why that keeps coming up for me as well. Maybe we'll find out about that after this next game. Maybe he'll stay another year if he has eligibility. I believe he does.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll transfer again. I have zero idea what's going on with that. So
I would think with Lemon and all those guys coming on next year, I think you're going to see you're going to definitely see a little bit more Deuce Robinson next year. You saw towards the end of this season, you saw Deuce Robinson. I think he might be on his way out. I think for sure he'll be on his way out, and I think Malik Brown is on his way to Autzen. I really think he's going to Oklahoma. I really think he's going to Oregon.
Yeah, I think with Malik Brown, it seems like I thought that him playing towards the end of the season in that one game last week against Washington was kind of a good sign for him. But with him, it's just tricky because you never really know what exactly is happening behind the scenes. He definitely didn't. I definitely believe that he wasn't healthy at that time when he decided that he wanted to sit out some games. Mm-hmm. That being said, I also know that when they brought him back, they immediately used him at running back, which I thought was where he was going to be comfortable. That's why I questioned maybe that's why he wanted to miss out on some games. I know that he's able to preserve his red shirt if he played in that Washington game. So maybe he's down to red shirt this year and then transfer somewhere else. We haven't heard reports that he's going to transfer. I'm nervous about it because Gary Bryant, I don't think was definitely going to transfer right away, and he ended up transferring. When he was in a certain similar situation, I just don't know. I mean, I could see it both ways. I love Raleek, so I'd love him to stay. But I also understand that I think that there's been some kind of weird things going on with his playing time and how he's been being used by Lincoln Riley. And again, I don't really want to critique the offense too much because they've been outstanding overall. But, I just think
Overall,
that
they've been good. They've been good.
I think that it's a crowded backfield, it's a crowded receiver room. I think that Lincoln Riley tried to get a little bit too cute on how he wanted to use it. But as a result, Brown's been a little bit disengaged maybe and just hasn't really worked out as well.
So I would say this too. Like, I mean, is for next year, how crowded will it be? You got to, Jones is gone. You got to think that Marshawn Lloyd is out of here. The way I think NFL scouts are really going to love Marshawn Lloyd at the next level. You got Barlow is definitely gone. So this is a brand new, if he does stay, I mean, right now, depending on any other transfers, it's only him and Quentin Joyner right now in the backfield. So that'd be interesting. And they probably need a bruiser back. I've always said, I give a salute to somebody like Darwin Barlow because I feel like he really could have been like a really just like a guy who just knock people's heads off late in games. But there's times where the Trojans will have 7-8 yards per carry for a whole game, and then they end the game that same way. You're like, and they only have like 13-14 carries. It's like, the offensive line can get better if you just give them more carries there. So we'll see as far as that goes. The secondary was an absolute mess, obviously. I give people credit. Christian Roland Wallace was hurt, Kalen Bullock, and it was just a little bit of a mess there. But there were some. Christian Pierce came in, played a little bit, which was nice to see, and Traquan Figgins, really played a really good football. And I think that's something where you can go into the future and say, hey, this is a kid who can actually start next year. Prophet Brown came in and played well as well. And then, you have a guy who really, I think it pretty much showed the day after, we're literally the first game he got fired and they had to, and somebody else had to call plays. You see a guy like Bryson Shaw not even play. Like Bryson Shaw not playing says all you need to know, that the favoritism was real, and it was no reason for him to be on the field at all. He's a special team player. He's really not a big time player for SC.
Yeah, I mean, I like the first game that Bryson Shaw played where he got significant playing time on defense. He was a Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week. That was pretty awesome. But it was awesome because that's the only time we've seen good performance out of him, for being honest. There have been a couple games where he's stacked a decent amount of tackles, but nobody stacks tackles on this team. Like, actually, we don't really have those type of guys, unfortunately. It's just not really happening. I think Gentry would be, but he's had some injury issues, and then they, for whatever reason, decided not to play him. But we can get into that later. I think Shaw, as I mentioned last episode that I was on, he was a Grinch guy. He came with him when Grinch recruited him to Ohio State. So obviously things weren't going very well at Ohio State for him. So Grinch gave him a chance here. I don't think any fans really had high expectations for him, honestly, and he certainly did not meet the expectations. I think what's really killing this team is that we've hit on none of these corners or safeties from the 2021 class except Bullock. Jalen Smith, I don't think has really lived up to it. I don't think Zaire Wright, guys like Prophet Brown, like, we're not seeing that class, which is a great class, by the way, pan out in the secondary. And it really hurts when we're also not getting anything out of Corey Foreman, nothing at all. And it hurts when you see Rajon Davis just kind of being not really knowing what's happening there. I don't necessarily know that he's a bad player. I really don't, because I've seen flashes from him.
Yeah.
But we really need this next D coordinator to be able to coach him up, because Rajon Davis hasn't been able to be coached up. And
we're lucky. We're lucky if he comes back from the tweets from his father.
Listen, I can tell he's frustrated, and we've seen Dad's frustrated, particularly on defense in the past few years. And it's just like, we need those big names from the 2021 class to step up, because this keeps happening. Then on the offensive line, Mason Murphy has shown flashes, but he hasn't played really well consistently this entire time. It's just like, when are these guys from the 21 class really going to step up? When are we going to coach them to their abilities? Because that was a great class. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a top 10 class during era of USC football, there was a lot of uncertainty moving forward. And we really need to take advantage of that. We just haven't done it.
Yeah, no question about it. Real quick, UCLA is reported from On3 Sports that it is highly likely that Chip Kelly will not be back with the Bruins. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there as well. So yeah, man, it's been that part of it has been for SC it's been tough. And I kind of feel like it's Solomon Bird who's graduating, and like the linebacking version of him is Rajon Davis, just a guy who just does his job, makes all the smart plays, and then doesn't really kind of unheralded kind of player. It'd be interesting to see if like a guy like Eric Gentry tries to enter the draft. He's a junior. He can't enter the draft. Shane Lee is going to be gone. So is Mason Cobb. So they got some reworking to do with his defensive unit. And let's kind of talk about the defensive unit for a second, real quick. What are your thoughts here on, hey, like who should be guys who you want to talk to? I would probably stay away. I liked what Lynn did at UCLA this year. I would stay away from the one hit wonder guys. Like I want guys with a true proven track record. And I think that, for me, Jim Leonard just looks the part. I mean, he looks the part. He had the results. They're going into that conference. If he can convince some of those big uglies to come up and play that D line for him, so so we can get some pass rush, get some run stopping, everything like that. That'll be a big one. Who's the guy who you like as far as for the Trojans to pick for a defensive coordinator next year?
So actually, I do like Lynn. Actually, I understand the concerns about being a one-year wonder. I absolutely do understand that. I just think that he's proven that he can flip something from as bad as what USC is into a damn good defense. But yeah, I mean, so he's a guy that comes to mind. I know last time we talked about Jim Leonard, Edo, we talked about Dave Aranda. If he gets fired, that'll be something. I think another name that comes to mind is Manny Diaz, just because I think he's proven he's a great coordinator here at Penn State, and I think that just having head coaching experience is important, especially when you're the type of recruiter that Manny Diaz is. He's just an outstanding recruiter. We need that for sure. I don't want what happened last year to happen again, where he missed out on both Mateo Uiagalelei and Roger Pleasant back to back. I mean, you can't have that, especially when the recruiting class hadn't been quite up to expectation that it originally was supposed to be. I still think last year's recruiting class was a great class, but it could have been better. And I think that Manny Diaz is a recruiter that, you can definitely trust in those situations. And remember, I don't necessarily know that it's too hard to recruit defense at USC as it may seem. I mean, Todd Orlando did it well for the beginning of his tenure there at USC. I think that I definitely think that they should look at him. He obviously knows how to handle big programs. He's been a D coordinator at Texas, Miami, Penn State. I think that's definitely a guy you want to look at. I've heard he's a smart guy. So that's another name that comes to my mind other than the ones we brought up before. But obviously, of course, Jim Leonard is number one, and he'll definitely be willing to move. Manny Diaz, you don't know that he'll be willing to go from Penn State to USC. You know that Jim Leonard would at least be – USC's defensive coordinator job is a way better job than an analyst job at Illinois. I'll just say that. So,
listen, champagne could be nice, but yeah, it would make all the sense in the world. And then he's a guy also, a guy like Trent Bray, Oregon State always has good defenses. They recruit well, so you can see if that would be something that a guy. So there's no short list of candidates. But we'll see. We'll see about that. I just feel like it's Diaz. I mean, does he? We gotta find out if he wants to leave. I mean, you gotta find out because he's under contract, right? So they have to get permission to talk to him, and probably buy him out if he wants to leave.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah,
you got to be. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. I think part of it is like the portal is a big part of it. I just don't know what's going to come from the portal. I think looking at the roster, I think definitely, they do need some defensive troops. I think you gotta. I would say that this would happen pretty quickly. I would say that they're going to try to get this defensive thing done fast because you want transfers and you want players to know that, hey, this is what you saw the last 2 years from this defense, where they're ranked below like teams like Connecticut and places like in Temple. It's not going to be exactly what USC football is going to be about. Especially playing LSU first game next year. So that's pretty much crazy as far as pretty much how it goes as far as that goes. What's the biggest thing you want to see from that new coordinator? If it's one, I know it's a lot of different things, but what do you want to see them kind of do with this hire? I mean, the non-names are out there. A lot of guys are out there. There's a lot of proven talent out there. What do you want to see from USC in this moment? I do think they're going to do a good job with this thing, because you got to remember, Washington's success is Jennifer Cohen's success as well too, because she hired a lot of people in the athletic department.
No question, which is why I think we can cross Jimmy Lake off the list. Although I think he'd be a good defensive coordinator here, but
yes,
obviously that didn't go so well there as a head coach. But with Jen Cohen, but I think basically the one thing I want to see the most, I want USC to act like USC. And what I mean by that is do what Mike Bohn and Brandon Sosna did during the Lincoln Riley hiring process. Nobody thought that USC could get Lincoln Riley. The only one who did was Joel Klatt, and everyone called him crazy for it. He put Lincoln Riley as one of his candidates when that job opened up. Everyone else said, oh, there's no way Lincoln Riley would want to go to USC. They underestimated how great the job is to be the head coach at USC. The USC head coaching job is better than some NFL jobs.
Yep.
Better than NFL head coaching jobs.
When you win, when you win there, 100%. 100%.
Absolutely. So the USC defensive coordinator job is an amazing job. While USC has not been known for defense recently, they used to be defense. They used to be defense U. There used to be conversations about their defense U, their linebacker U.
It'd be defense first. It was defense first.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's like you need to really sell that, and you need to act like that's how good the job is. That's going to go a long way in negotiations. That's going to get people interested in you. And I think that that's a part of why they made sure to fire Alex Grinch after the last game instead of waiting until the end of the season, because they need to get started in that process now. And I do understand that there are some situations, there's rules where you can't, I don't know if this is the same with coordinators. I know it is for head coaches. You're not allowed to talk to them at some points during the season for other jobs, but you are allowed to talk to agents. So I think that they do have the opportunity to get a head start right now. And like you said, because they want to get this done fast. There's no, we want to roll with our guys during the bowl game. Like, no, like these aren't the defensive coordinators that are going to be there next year. They need to get moving on this fast. And I think that they will. And I just want them to throw their weight around like they're USC, because they are.
Yeah, and it's a great. I mean, it's like, let's be honest, it's a great job. You can't think about it. You can't look at any other job and not think it's a great job. I know some people are doing like Phil Parker, but I mean, like from Iowa. I don't know. I mean, some of the old school guys, I'm not sure if they want to leave. They've been there for so long. He's not a guy. I do like. The only thing about people like Parker and some of the older guys who have good defenses, they're not necessarily young guys who are going to be looking to get head coaching jobs. Like, you know what I mean? At some point, if Lynn comes over to USC, I would say, damn, like, yeah, he's trying to be a head coach. Like, if he turns USC around after 1 year, I think that people will try to jump on him. Do you buy this, like, the schedule for 2020? I know it's like some unknown stuff, but like, you think it's as daunting as everybody says it is? Or do
no,
you
because let me pull it up right now, because I know
me too. I'm gonna pull it up.
I was looking at it, so LSU. I'm not going to underestimate LSU, but obviously,
who's playing quarterback? I mean, they're going to be talented as hell everywhere else, but who's playing quarterback for them next year? That's one question for them, I would say.
Exactly, and the whole state of Louisiana, not even just Baton Rouge, is talking about Jaden Daniels as the Heisman. So if he's really that great and that impactful, that's going to be a big adjustment when they move off.
Yes, and I would say for him, I think somebody's going to take Jaden Daniels over. He might go one. I'll put it to you that way. By the time I'm gonna make that my bold prediction about Jaden Daniels is like somebody's gonna look at him and take him over Williams and over May. I really they're gonna say, because people are gonna pump that SEC stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Look at the conference he plays in. I'm telling you right now, I got that feeling. So looking at, I mean, obviously at Michigan early in the year, that's gonna be, I mean, but some of these teams, and like I'm not trying to rag on any of these squads. They're gonna be, I mean, like, but like some of these teams just don't, they gotta show me that they can actually score points.
No, I agree with that. I
Like, you know
mean,
what I mean? Like, if the defense can just be middle of the road, I mean, we've been saying that for last 2 years. But like, you know, when they go play Minnesota, it's like, I mean, if Minnesota doesn't score 27 points, it's gonna be hard. I mean, even when Lincoln Riley has his crappiest game offensively, they score 27 between 27 and 40 points in the game. So I think that's the big thing. I mean, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I mean Maryland is probably one of the games that I'm worried about on the road, but I mean, but Rutgers, I mean, you know, I don't know. We'll see how it is. We'll see how it is. Long way to go. We'll see what happens as far as that goes, but I don't know if it's as daunting as everybody else says it is.
no, I don't either. I mean, also, like I would say most people would call, or at least a couple weeks ago, would call at Michigan the toughest game, but they're obviously likely going to be moving to a new quarterback as well. You get a bye week right before that, and I don't even know who the coach is going to be at Michigan next year. I don't really know what's happening with that program at all.
Yeah, stealing stuff.
So I think that's a winnable game. You already mentioned teams like Wisconsin, Minnesota. We just don't know if they can even hang with USC, especially with Wisconsin having to play in the Coliseum. Penn State, we have good history against Penn State. That game's at home; they can't score either. I do think that Maryland is, like you said, is a sneaky team that they could possibly lose to. Rutgers at home, I don't think they'll have any issue there. Rutgers can't score points either. Washington on the road, that's going to be brutal. But keep in mind, they're moving on a new quarterback as well. There's unknowns. Notre Dame moving on
it's
a
interesting because
quarterback.
we're either, and I really hope that, I mean, I know Miller Moss is there, but I really hope if Malachi Nelson is the number one quarterback that everybody says he was coming out. I mean, I really feel like, I mean, like we could, they could have a heads up on a lot of these teams, because I mean he is the most, he's a really talented guy. I've heard other things about, like, you know, maybe a transfer coming in. I don't know. I don't know if I feel about that. I feel like for me, I definitely would roll with Malachi Nelson, but he has to beat out Miller Moss, and Miller Moss can play. Moss is not a scrub, so he has to actually beat him out to get that position as far as that goes. All right. I think that's pretty much it. The rivalry game this week. Just it's not the same as last year. It was like really intense. It was a great game, and it was just like fun to talk about. But I wasn't, you know, we all know that it's pretty much just Caleb. I would say this, and in closing, if you want to see Caleb Williams, I would probably go to this game. I want to see him play live, because I cannot imagine his team signing off on him. I mean, he probably wants to play in a bowl game, but to win a bowl game. But I would be shocked if he played in the bowl game that close to the NFL draft. I mean, the whole, you know, I keep thinking about Jalen Smith. You know, so like, you know, I would be shocked if he played in that game.
And I mean, Jalen Smith was even in the Fiesta Bowl, even a giant bowl game like that where you want to play and injuries can still happen, And I think if it was a New Year's Six game that Caleb would be playing,
he'd play.
That's obviously not going to be the situation here. Not even close, I don't think. If they win, they'll be 8-4 in a loaded conference. They're not going to play in a good bowl game.
Or not. No way.
Obviously, I don't see him staying another year. So yeah, this is going to be your last opportunity. And hey, enjoy it. It's going to be UCLA. He's got an opportunity to play and beat UCLA. We always love to do that. Exactly. That's at least one good thing to take from this season. Of course, there's a lot of good things to take from Caleb this season. So I hope he's not too hard on himself over this. But just try to enjoy Saturday. Let's hope for a win. If they don't win, you're not going to enjoy it. But we'll see what happens. And it's root for your Trojans. I know it's been a rough season, but there's one more week. It's against UCLA. We hate UCLA. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. I totally agree with that. So. Thank you for joining us here on the Student Body Right USC podcast, and Evan, and we'll definitely talk. He talked a little Raiders with us as well. Talked about some stuff with Antonio Pierce and Jack Jones, the newest Raider as well too. So covering all bases here on the channel. All right, as always, man, fight on.
Yes, sir. Fight on. Peace out, Dwayne.
Yep.
Later.